Hi, my dear students. Have a nice day. Today we are going to deal with the topic that is peritoneal folds. The peritoneum is a large serous membrane that lines the walls of the abdominal and the pelvic cavities and also covers the organs within these cavities. It is also called as the rosa. Histologically, it is composed of an outer layer of fibrous tissue which gives strength to the membrane and an inner layer of flattened mesothelial cells which secrete a serous fluid which lubricates the surface, thus allowing the free movement of viscera. Peritoneum, first in the form of a closed sac which is invaginated by number of viscera and divides this peritoneum into two layers, outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer, and folds of peritoneum by which the viscera are suspended. The peritoneum, which is a simple cavity before being invaginated by viscera and becomes highly complicated. Parietal layer lines the inner surface of the abdominal wall and pelvic wall and the lower surface of diaphragm. It is loosely attached to the walls by extraperitoneal connective tissue. So this layer can be easily stripped from the body wall. Embryologically, this parietal layer develops from the somatopleural layer of lateral plate mesoderm. Its blood supply and nerve supply are the same as those of the overlying body wall. Because of the somatic innervation, the parietal peritoneum is pain sensitive. Visceral peritoneum. It lines the outer surface of viscera to which it is firmly adherent and cannot be stripped easily. In fact, it forms a part and parcel of the viscera. Embryologically, this visceral layer develops from splagnopleural layer of lateral plate mesoderm. Its blood supply and nerve supply are the same as those of underlying viscera. Because of this autonomic innervation, visceral peritoneum evokes pain when viscera is stretched, ischemic or distended. In this picture, it is clear that green color, it represents the parietal layer of peritoneum, and that violet color, which is lining the viscera, it indicates the visceral layer of peritoneum. Many organs within the abdomen are suspended by folds of peritoneum. Such organs are mobile. The degree and the direction of the mobility are governed by the size and the direction of the peritoneal fold. Other organs, they are fixed and they are immobile and they rest directly on the posterior abdominal wall and may be covered by peritoneum on one side. Such organs are said to be retroperitoneal. Some organs are suspended by peritoneal folds in early embryonic life but later become retroperitoneal. Apart from allowing the mobility, the peritoneal fold provides passage for blood vessels, nerves and lymphatics. In this diagram, the jejunum you can see, it is covered by peritoneum. It is intraperitoneal organ. But when you take the ascending column, they rest directly on the posterior abdominal wall and covered by peritoneum on one side. So this organ is retroperitoneal. Depending upon the relationship between the viscera and the peritoneum, there is intraperitoneal viscera and retroperitoneal viscera. Intraperitoneal viscera, they are completely surrounded by the peritoneum. Example, stomach, superior part of duodenum, jejunum, ileum, cecum, appendix, transverse and sigmoid colon, spleen, ovary and uterine tube. In the case of retroperitoneal viscera, the peritoneum covers on the anterior surface of the organ. Example, kidney, suprarenal gland, pancreas, second and third parts of duodenum, ascending and descending colon, middle and lower parts of rectum and ureter. Peritoneal folds are given various names. Usually, the prefix mes or meso is added followed by the name of the organ. Small intestine or enteron, prefix mes is added and we will call it as mesentery. Like that, the prefix meso is added to the part or the fold that is related to the large intestine or colon, then we will call it as mesocolon. Like that, the peritoneal fold which suspends the stomach is called as omentum. When it is singular, we will call it as omentum, which means a cover. In many situations, double-layered folds of peritoneum connect organs to the abdominal wall or to each other. Such folds are called ligaments. These may be named after the structure they connect. For example, gastrosplenic ligament. It means that it connects the stomach to the spleen. Other folds are named accordingly to their shape also. For example, the triangular ligament of the liver. In this picture, we can see the fold of peritoneum that connect the stomach with the other viscera. On the greater curvature, the larger one, that is called as greater omentum, and to the lesser curvature of the stomach, the fold attached, that is called as lesser omentum. So you can see in this picture the small intestine which is suspended by the fold that is called as mesentery, and the appendix which is suspended by the peritoneal fold, that is mesoappendix. In this picture you can see the mesocolon. The peritoneal fold which is suspending the large intestine is called as mesocolon. So the part that is suspending the sigmoid part of the colon is sigmoid mesocolon. The part that is suspending the transverse part of the colon, that is called as transverse mesocolon. In this picture you can see some of the ligaments which is connecting, that is spleen and the stomach, that is called as gastrosplenic ligament. Like that, connecting the spleen to the kidney, that is called as lienorenal ligament. Like that, the liver is connected to the duodenum by means of a fold that is called as hepatoduodenal ligament. So these are some of the ligaments which connects the viscera, and this viscera can also be connected to the abdominal wall. They are called as, that folds of peritoneum are called as ligaments. The viscera which invaginate the peritoneal cavity completely fill the cavity, so that the peritoneal cavity is reduced to a potential space between the two layers of peritoneum, and The space between these two layers is filled with a serous fluid that is secreted from the mesothelial cells, and this fluid has a lubricating function and which allows the free movement of one surface over the another. Under abnormal circumstances, there will be collection of fluid between these two layers of peritoneum. It is called as ascites. If instead of blood, if there is a collection of blood between these two layers, it is called as hemoperitoneum. And if there is the collection of air in the peritoneal cavity, it is called as pneumoperitoneum. There are some sex differences exist between the male and female. In the case of male, the peritoneum is a closed sac lined by mesothelium or flattened epithelium. The female peritoneum has following features because it is not a closed sac. It opens to exterior due to the presence of uterine tube, uterus and the vagina. In addition to that, the peritoneum which lines the ovary is cubical epithelium, and the peritoneum which covers the fimbriae of the uterine tube is lined by the columnar ciliated epithelium. The peritoneal cavity can be broadly divided into two parts. The main larger part is called as greater sac, and the smaller part situated behind the stomach, lesser omentum and the liver, it is called as lesser sac. The two sacs communicate with each other through the epiploid foramen or foramen of Winslow or opening into the lesser sac. Small pockets or recesses of peritoneal cavity may be separated from the main cavity by small folds of peritoneum. These peritoneal recesses or fossa are of clinical importance because internal hernia may take place into these recesses. The chief function of the peritoneum is to provide a slippery surface for the movements of abdominal viscera. This permits peristaltic movements of stomach and intestine, abdominal movements during respiration, and periodic changes in the capacity of hollow viscera associated with the filling and evacuation. The efficiency of the intestine is also increased as a result of the wide range of mobility that is possible because the intestines are suspended by large folds of peritoneum. And the other function of the peritoneum is the protection of viscera. The peritoneum contains various phagocytic cells and lymphocytes. Phagocytic cells which guard against infection. Lymphocytes present in normal peritoneal fluid provide both cellular and humoral immunological defense mechanisms. The greater omentum has the power to move towards the site of infection and to seal them, thus preventing spread of infection. For this reason, the greater omentum, which is attached to the greater curvature of the stomach, often designated as the policeman of abdomen. The mesothelium acts as a semi-permeable membrane across which fluids and small molecules of various solutes can pass. Thus, the peritoneum can absorb fluid effusions from the peritoneal cavity. Water and crystalloids are absorbed directly into the blood capillaries, whereas colloids pass into the lymphatics with the aid of phagocytes. The greater absorptive power of the upper abdomen or subphrenic space is due to its larger surface area and because respiratory movements aid absorption. Therapeutically, considerable volumes of fluid can be administered through this peritoneal route. Conversely, metabolites like urea can be removed from the blood by artificially circulating fluid through the peritoneal cavity. This procedure is called as peritoneal dialysis. So, one of the functions of the peritoneum is absorption and dialysis. The next is healing power and adhesions. The mesothelial cells of the peritoneum can transform into fibroblasts, which promote healing of wounds. They may also form abnormal adhesions, causing obstruction in hollow organs. And the other function is storage of fat. Peritoneal folds are capable of storing large amounts of fat, particularly in obese persons. The folds can be best understood by recapitulating the development of the gut. The developing gut, as you know, it is divisible into three parts, that is foregut, midgut and hindgut. Each part has its own artery, which is a ventral branch of the abdominal aorta. The celiac artery, it supplies the foregut. The superior mesenteric artery is supplying the midgut, and the inferior mesenteric artery is supplying the hindgut. Apart from some other structures, the foregut forms esophagus, stomach, and the upper part of duodenum up to the opening of the common bile duct. The midgut forms rest of the duodenum, jejunum, ileum, appendix, cecum, ascending colon, and the right two-thirds of the transverse colon. The hindgut forms the left one-third of the transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, proximal part of the rectum, and the upper part of the anal canal up to the pectinate line. The abdominal part of the foregut is suspended by mesenteries, both ventrally and dorsally. The ventral mesentery of the foregut is called as ventral mesogastrium, and the dorsal mesentery is called as dorsal mesogastrium. As we already seen in the previous slide, the abdominal part of the foregut is suspended by the mesentery, that is both ventrally and dorsally. The mesentery that is seen on the anterior or the ventral aspect is called as ventral mesogastrium, and the mesentery that is suspending, that is seen on the dorsal part of the developing foregut, that is called as dorsal mesogastrium. Then when you consider the ventral mesogastrium, it is divided by the developing liver into ventral part and dorsal part. So the ventral part that is seen in front of the developing liver, that forms the ligaments of the liver, namely the falciform ligament, the right and left triangular ligament, superior, inferior coronary ligaments. The dorsal part of the ventral mesogastrium, that is on the ventral aspect of the that is on the dorsal aspect of the developing liver, that forms the lesser omentum, which connects the lesser curvature of the stomach and the liver. So the ventral mesogastrium by the developing liver is dividing into ventral part and dorsal part. Ventral part is responsible, they form the ligaments of the liver, and the dorsal part that forms the lesser omentum, which is attached to the lesser curvature of the stomach. The next is regarding the feet of dorsal mesogastrium. It can be divided into the upper part and lower part, that is the cranial and the caudal part. The caudal part, the greater of the caudal part, it forms the greater omentum. So that part is elongated. The greater or the caudal part of the dorsal mesogastrium, it is forming the greater omentum. When coming to the cranial part or the upper part of this dorsal mesogastrium, that develops the spleen. So the spleen develops in relation to the cranial part of the dorsal mesogastrium and divides this cranial part of the dorsal mesogastrium into dorsal and ventral part. So the ventral part, it forms the gastrosplenic ligament. So it is connecting the stomach and the spleen, the fundus of the stomach and the spleen. So that is called as gastrosplenic ligament. Like that, connecting this spleen to the kidney, that is called as lienorenal ligament. So the dorsal part of the dorsal mesogastrium, cranial part of the dorsal mesogastrium, it forms the lienorenal ligament. So this is how the development happens. So first is there is a ventral mesogastrium and a dorsal mesogastrium. When we take the ventral mesogastrium, liver develops. So it divides this ventral mesogastrium into two parts. That is ventral and dorsal part. Ventral part, it forms the ligaments of the liver. Dorsal part form the lesser omentum of the stomach, which is attached to the lesser curvature of the stomach. Take the dorsal mesogastrium, divide it into cranial and the caudal part. The caudal part forms the greater omentum, which is attached to the greater curvature of the stomach. Take the small cranial part of dorsal mesogastrium, like liver develops in the ventral mesogastrium. The other structure develops is the spleen. So then this cranial part is dividing into two, that is the ventral and the dorsal part. So ventral part, the ligament develops as gastrosplenic. It is connecting the spleen and the stomach. Like that, the dorsal part of this cranial part of dorsal mesogastrium, which connects spleen to the kidney, that is seen on the posterior abdominal wall, that is called as lienorenal ligament. In this picture also, the development or the attachment of the ligaments are clear, and the cranial most part of this dorsal mesogastrium, it forms the gastrophrenic ligament. The midgut and the hindgut, they have only a dorsal mesentery, which forms the mesentery of the jejunum and ileum, the mesoappendix, the transverse mesocolon, and the sigmoid mesocolon. The mesenteries of the duodenum, ascending colon, the descending colon, and the rectum are lost during the development. As you learned regarding the reflections of the peritoneum, you've seen that the peritoneum forming the two layers of lesser omentum passes on to the surface of the liver. After lining the surface of the liver, this peritoneum is reflected onto the diaphragm and to the anterior abdominal wall in the form of number of ligaments. These are the falciform ligament, the left triangular ligament, the coronary ligament, and the right triangular ligaments. Lesser omentum is a double-layered fold of peritoneum which extends from the lesser curvature of the stomach and the first 2 cm of duodenum to liver. The portion of the lesser omentum between the stomach and the liver is called as hepatogastric ligament, and the portion between the duodenum and the liver, that is called as hepatoduodenal ligament. So behind the lesser omentum there lies a part of lesser sac. The lesser omentum has a right free margin. Behind there is epiploic foramen. The greater sac and lesser sac, they communicate with each other through this foramen, that is called as epiploic foramen or foramen of Winslow. So coming again to the attachment, as you see that inferiorly the lesser omentum is attaching to the lesser curvature of the stomach and the first 2 cm of the duodenum. Superiorly, it is attached to the liver, and the attachment to the liver is in the shape of an inverted L. That means it is a horizontal limb and a vertical limb. So the vertical limb that is attached to a fissure that is seen on the posterior surface of the liver, that is called as ligamentum venosum. So what is this ligamentum venosum? That it is the fissure that is seen on the posterior surface of the liver. You will later study along with the liver. The other thing, the horizontal limb that is attached to the porta hepatis. So porta hepatis is a transverse fissure around 5 cm that is seen on the inferior surface of the liver, through which the vessels and nerves enter the liver, like the common bile duct is passing through it, the hepatic artery proper and hepatic portal vein, as well as the lymphatics that is passing from the liver. So that fissure is called as porta hepatis. So the horizontal limb of this lesser omentum is attaching to this margins of porta hepatis, and the vertical limb is attached to the fissure of ligamentum, fissure for ligamentum venosum. So the attachment is an inverted L shape. So what are the contents that you see on the lesser omentum is, one is the right free margin of the lesser omentum. It contains the hepatic artery proper, the portal vein, the bile duct, the lymph nodes and lymphatics, the hepatic plexus of the nerves, also enclosed in a perivascular fibrous sheath. Along with that, the lesser curvature of the stomach, and along the upper border of the adjoining part of the duodenum, it contains the right gastric vessels, the left gastric vessels, the gastric group of lymph nodes and lymphatics, and branches from the gastric nerves. So the lesser omentum, what is the function of this peritoneal fold, is also the passage of nerves and vessels to the organs. So the lesser omentum, it contains the bile duct, common bile duct, hepatic artery proper, portal vein, the gastric arteries, the right and left gastric arteries, gastric lymph nodes, and also the branches of the gastric nerves. Once more summarizing the contents of lesser omentum. Lesser omentum, the right free margin of the lesser omentum contains the hepatic artery proper, portal vein, bile duct, lymph nodes and lymphatics, the hepatic plexus of the nerves. Along the lesser curvature of the stomach and along the upper border of the adjoining part of duodenum, it contains right gastric vessels, left gastric vessels, gastric group of lymph nodes and lymphatics, branches of gastric nerves. The next is greater omentum. This is a large fold of peritoneum which hangs down from the greater curvature of the stomach like an apron. It covers the loops of intestines to a varying extent. It is made up of 4 layers of peritoneum, all of which are fused together to form a thin fenestrated membrane containing variable quantities of fat. The greater omentum is 4-layer fold. The anterior 2 layers descends from the greater curvature of the stomach to a variable extent. They fold upon themselves and form the posterior 2 layers, which ascends to the anterior surface of the head and the anterior border of the body of the pancreas. The folding of the omentum is such that the first layer becomes the 4th layer and the second layer becomes the 3rd layer. In its upper part, the 4th layer is partially fused to the anterior surface of the transverse colon and the transverse mesocolon. The part of the peritoneal cavity called the lesser sac between the second and the 3rd layer gets obliterated, except for about 2.5 cm below the greater curvature of the stomach. The right and left gastroepiploic vessels, they anastomose with each other in the interval between the first two layers of greater omentum, a little below the greater curvature of the stomach. It is often laden with fat. So, the greater curvature of the stomach, the blood supply, there are main two sources, that is the right and left gastroepiploic vessels. So they are seen in this greater omentum, and greater omentum is heavily laden with fat. The functions. The greater omentum is a storehouse of fat. It protects the peritoneal cavity against infection because of the presence of macrophages in it. So collection of the macrophages form small dense patches that is known as milky spots, which are visible to the naked eye. It also limits the spread of infection by moving to the site of infection and sealing it off from the surrounding areas. On this account, the greater omentum is also known as the policeman of the abdomen. The greater omentum forms a partition between the supracholic and infracholic compartments of greater sac. The mesentery of the small intestine or mesentery proper is a broad fan-shaped fold of peritoneum which suspends the coils of jejunum and ileum from the posterior abdominal wall. The breadth of this is 20 cm in center and decreased towards the ends. So it is gradually diminishing towards the end. Mesentery have two borders. The attached border or root of mesentery, that is around 15 cm in length, and the other border is the free or intestinal border, which is about 6 meters long, and they are thrown into pleats. The root of mesentery is directed obliquely downward and to the right side. It extends from the duodenojejunal flexure, that is from L2, left side of lumbar vertebra 2, that is L2, to the right sacroiliac joint, that is iliocecal junction. As it starts from duodenojejunal flexure to iliocecal junction, so it is directed toward from left to the right side. So it crosses the following structures. Third part of duodenum, where the superior mesenteric vessels enter into it. Then abdominal aorta, and to the right of the abdominal aorta is the position of inferior vena cava. Then it crosses the right ureter and the right psoas major muscle. Fat is most abundant in the lower part of mesentery, extending from the root to the intestinal border. The upper part of the mesentery contains less fat, which tends to accumulate near the root. Near the intestinal border, it leaves oval or circular fat-free translucent areas or windows. The contents of the mesentery are jejunal and the ileal branches or superior mesenteric artery, accompanying veins, autonomic nerve plexus, lymphatics or lacteals, 100 to 200 lymph nodes, connective tissue with fat. Mesoappendix is a small triangular fold of peritoneum which suspends the vermiform appendix from the posterior surface of the lower end of mesentery close to the ileocecal junction. Usually, the fold extends up to the tip of the appendix, but sometimes it fails to reach the distal one-third also. It contains vessels, nerves, lymph nodes and lymphatics of the appendix. Coming to the transverse mesocolon, it is a broad fold of peritoneum which suspends the transverse colon from the upper part of the posterior abdominal wall. Attachment. The root of transverse mesocolon is attached to the anterior surface of the head and the anterior border of the body of the pancreas. It contains the middle colic vessels, the nerves, lymph nodes and lymphatics of the transverse colon. Sigmoid mesocolon is a triangular fold of peritoneum which suspends the sigmoid colon from the pelvic wall. The root is shaped like an inverted V. Its apex lies over the left ureter at the termination of the left common iliac artery. The left common iliac artery terminates as left external iliac artery and left internal iliac artery. So, the left limb is attached along the upper half of the left external iliac artery and the right limb to the posterior pelvic wall, extending downward and medially from the apex to the median plane at the level of S3. So, it level extend up to the S3. The sigmoid and the superior rectal vessels and the nerves, lymph nodes and lymphatics of the sigmoid colon are the contents of this. Collection of free fluid in the peritoneal cavity is known as ascites. Common cause of ascites are cirrhosis of the liver, tuberculosis, peritonitis, congestive heart failure, and malignant infiltration of the peritoneum. Fluid in the abdomen may be removed by puncturing the abdominal wall either in the median plane midway between the umbilicus and the pubic symphysis or at a point just above the anterior superior iliac spine. This procedure is called as paracentesis. Occasionally, a loop of intestine may enter into the peritoneal pouch or recess and get strangulated. That is internal abdominal hernia. Inflammation of the peritoneum is called as peritonitis. It may be localized when a subjacent organs are infected or may be generalized. The latter is a very serious condition. In the case of localized peritonitis, there will be pain around the site of infection, tenderness and rigidity will be there. In the case of generalized peritonitis, cardboard rigidity and there is an absence of intestinal sounds. If there is inflammation, pressure can be applied to the abdominal wall with a single finger over the site of inflammation. The pressure is then removed by suddenly withdrawing the finger. The abdominal wall rebounds, resulting in extreme local pain, and that is known as rebound tenderness. The other clinical condition is pneumoperitoneum. The presence of air in the peritoneal cavity is called as pneumoperitoneum. It may occur after perforation of the stomach or intestine. In this X-ray, you can see there is an air at the right dome of the diaphragm. Thank you.